Welcome, parents and students of the class of 2024. My name is Jerry Buckley. I'm the Director of School Counseling here at Bishop Kenny. And myself, as well as Mr. Michael Broach, Academic Dean, and Mrs. Mary DeSalvo, our Vice Principal of Academics, will be holding our presentation today. We've been doing this presentation for over 20 years now, but this is definitely our first one we have done virtually. So good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you are watching this program, good evening. We appreciate you being with us. And like I said, this is our first one virtually, so I think we've got a great program for you. Along with this link, you were also emailed a copy of our packet. So we'll ask you to follow along with that tonight if you can. We'll be referring to different handouts as we go through. And tomorrow, or whenever your student would like, if you would like a hard copy of this, you can stop by our office, school counseling, and pick up a copy of it as well if you like the things in hard copy, and certainly you're welcome to print it from the email as well. So we are looking forward to our program. We're going to proceed through slide by slide. And again, if you have any follow-up questions afterwards, you're certainly welcome to email or contact any of us with any follow-up information. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our first slide. As it says here, this is a 4-part series. So we encourage you to come back every year. Obviously, hopefully, we are back in person next year when you're in 10th grade. We begin with our 9th grade success seminar, followed by our 10th grade high school to college program. The junior year, there is a 11th grade planning for college, and then 12th grade finally preparing for college. We also hold an evening program every year, usually hosted by Mr. Bill Spires, who's the Director of Financial Aid at Tallahassee Community College, for both juniors and seniors and their parents to talk directly about financial aid for college. So we really have 5 evening programs each year, 1 for each grade level, and like I said, 1 for financial aid for both juniors and seniors. First thing we'd like to talk about tonight is grades. And Mr. Broach will be sharing a lot of information about how to do well in courses and put your best foot forward at Bishop Kenny. But we're going to talk specifically about some things and obviously shooting high right off the bat. So number 1 is we want all of our students to try to shoot for the honor roll as best they can right off the bat when they come in the 9th grade. In order to achieve our honor roll, we take the student's grade in a course at the end of the quarter, and we take all 7 grades in all 7 of their classes, and we average them together. If the average is 94 and above, that would be first honors. If it is 83 to 93.99, that is considered second honors. With those grades, their final grade for the quarter, no grade can be below an 80 in order to achieve the honor roll. If you get the honor roll for all 4 quarters of a certain school year, you will earn a Bishop Kenny academic letter. You'll also be recognized at the award ceremony the following year. And when you get that academic letter, it also provides you the opportunity to purchase an academic letter jacket. So that's certainly a goal we like to have all of our students shoot for. And there are students that actually get the honor roll each quarter that they're here at Bishop Kenny, so 16 times in a row. So again, as a freshman student, we would encourage you to set that goal for yourself and try to do that. And again, we have students that do that in the senior class each year. So like I said, that's a great goal to shoot for. Speaking of that, as far as another great goal is to shoot for the National Honor Society. In order to get into the Honor Society, obviously a number of things we look at, including scholarship, integrity, leadership, and service. You are eligible for the National Honor Society after the first semester of your junior year. So you have to have a minimum 4.0 GPA in order to qualify to apply, and then you'll go through the application and go from there. So you can qualify after the first semester junior year. If you haven't qualified at that point, you can actually, and you get to a 4.0, you can actually go through the application process as a senior as well. So again, that's a high goal to set, and we would certainly encourage you to do that right from your first day as a freshman. Graduating with honors. We're going to talk about the GPA specifically in a moment, but your cumulative GPA at the end of your senior year is how we determine graduating with honors. If you have a 4.0 and above, that would be summa cum laude. 3.6 to 3.99 would be magna cum laude, and then 3.3 to 3.59 would be cum laude. So again, another high goal along with the Honor Society and earning the honor roll to shoot for. And again, that really puts the student in great light as far as applying to college eventually and that type of thing as well. So let's talk about how you determine your grades. So at this point, I'd ask you to take out handout number 1, or take a look at handout number 1, I should say, and talk about computing final grades. So at Bishop Kenny, your final grade in the course is obviously the most important. That's the one that eventually goes on your transcript. So we put a lot of weight on the quarter grades. So your quarter grades are made up of your homework, your tests, your quizzes, your participation in class, and that type of thing. As we know, there are 4 quarters each year. So your quarter grades are doubled. So when you think about it, each quarter is 20%. Then we add your midterm once, which is 10%, your final exam once, which is 10%. So that gives you your total of 100% of your grade. We divide that by 10, and that's your final mark in that course. So again, each quarter is worth 20%, and your midterm is worth 10%, and your final exam is 10%. So again, what you do every day in class, preparing for your homework, your tests, your quizzes, that's 80% of your final average. Add the midterm and final in, that gives you your complete final average, but it's very important to do what you're supposed to do every day in preparation, and students that do that are very successful. And coincidentally, the ones that are doing what they need to do every day in class and preparing for tests and quizzes, they usually do well in the midterms and finals as well. So that's how we complete that final grade. If you take a look at handout number 1, you can see a sample report card where we have things listed out as far as the grades, and then down below that you see the final grade calculation. Just kind of simplified it. You can see, for example, in chemistry for that student, he had an 87, so we listed that twice. For the first quarter, we listed his second quarter grade twice, then the midterm, third quarter twice, fourth quarter twice, final exam 1 time, divided that by 10, and in particular, that student ended up with an 86 for the year. Even though he got a 75 on his final exam, which was a C, the rest of his grades were strong enough where he ended up with an 86 final average in that course. So again, we really put an emphasis on doing well each and every day throughout the quarter. Now let's talk about grade point average. So handout number 2 talks about the cumulative GPA. So if you take a look at the top there in determining the point value, each of our numerical grades can translate into a letter grade. So for example, if you see at the top of the scale, if you finish with a 98 through 100, that would be an A+, 94 to 97 would be an A, 90 to 93 would be an A-, and you can see how that corresponds down through the rest of the letter grades. If you finish a course with an A, or that quarter for an A, for example, if it's a standard or college prep course, it would be a 4.0. If you're in an honors class, you get what we call an additional half-weighted point, so that would be a 4.5. If it's an AP course, which you can get into as a sophomore, junior, or senior, that would give you full additional weighted point, which would give you a 5.0. And that corresponds down through the letter grade. So you can see, for example, for the Bs, if you had a 3.0 in a standard class, 3.5 for honors, 4.0 for AP, and so forth. So it's pretty straightforward with that. So if you want to figure out how to calculate a GPA at the end of a quarter or eventually at the end of a school year, it's fairly simple. You would take the numerical point value for each course. So if you see the example down the bottom of handout number 2, this student had a 92 in religion, so that equates to an A-, which is 4.0. In English 1 honors, she had an 89, so that it's an honors class, so that gives her a 3.5. Algebra 1 was an 83, which would be a 3.0. Bio 91, 4.0. Latin 84, 3.0. The health education Hope class was a 96, so that's a 4.0. And then theater 1 was a 98, 4.0. So you add all those point values up. That gives you 25.5 cumulative grade points, and then you divide by the total number of courses. So as a freshman, obviously you're taking 7 classes, so 25.5 divided by 7 gives that student a 3.643 cumulative GPA. So again, if that cumulative GPA is the one that shows on your report card, it also shows, and that's what we use for, like I talked about before, graduating with honors, honor roll, and that type of thing. So again, that's how you calculate the cumulative GPA. At the same time now, we're going to also talk about core GPA. And the reason we talk about core GPA and emphasize that is because we know that many colleges look at that specifically, as well as the Bright Future Scholarship I'm going to talk about later on today, as well as the NCAA as far as playing sports in college. So our core classes, as you can see on the screen, are English, math, science, social studies, and the world language courses. So those 5 areas are what colleges will focus in on when we talk about the core subjects. So if you look at handout number 3, and actually you can take a look at that as well as handout number 2, it's the same student with the same grades, and now we're going to pull out the core GPA. So you'll see for determining the point value, it's exactly the same system. So the grades all lay out the same, 4.0, 4.5, 5.0 for an AP class, and so forth. So very straightforward down there. Now, if you look at the bottom of handout number 3, now we're looking specifically at the core subjects for the same student we just looked at with the cum GPA. So the core subjects, most of you as freshmen are only taking 4 core classes. That's your English, your math, your science, and your world language. There are some freshmen taking creative writing, writing workshop, as well as possibly world geography. Those would be core classes as well. But like I said, for most freshmen, they are taking 4 core classes, the English, math, science, and then the world language. So our student in the example here, she had an English class where she had a B, and that was honors, so that gave her a 3.5. In her math class, her Algebra 1, she had a B, so that's a 3.0. She had a 4.0 in her biology class, and then a 3.0 in her Latin. So again, very simply, you total those up again. Now the total there is 13.5. You divide that by the 4 core classes, and that brings you to a core GPA of a 3.375. So same student, 2 different grade point averages. The cumulative GPA was a 3.643. The core GPA was a 3.375. So that's very important to understand the difference between those 2 grade point averages. Typically, the ballpark number is if you take your cum GPA and drop it 2 to 3 tenths of a point, that's probably where your core is approximately. So obviously we do it specifically with the students every year so they know exactly where they stand, but it's important to know in general the 2 differences between, again, the cum and the core GPA. So that's important to know, and again, something to make sure you're aware of as you go through the process. Oops. Our next, and like I said, so here's on the screen, it just shows you the grade point average. You take the grade points, add the weighted points, divided by the total number of courses, and a quotient gives you the core GPA. So just like I said, it's the same formula, it's just specifying which classes you're going to take at that time. Now I'm going to take a look at handout number 4 and some specific agencies that are like I said, focusing in on specifically on the core GPA. Number 1 would be the state university system. And as a disclaimer, we certainly never push students towards any particular school. We like our students to look at in-state, out-of-state, private, public, a variety of different colleges. Even internationally, we've had some students go. But we do know a lot of students at Bishop Kenny obviously focus in on at least applying to the state universities. So when we talk about the state university system, we're mentioning University of Florida, Florida State, UCF, UNF, and so forth, a total of 12 of those universities. So if you look at it, handout number 4, that's one major body that's going to be looking specifically at the core GPA. So as you can see, their graduation requirements are very close to Bishop Kenny. Mrs. DeSalvo is going to talk about them as well, the graduation requirements. But as you can see, for English, for math, 3 science, and so forth, they are looking for a total of 18 core academic units, which she's going to address later as well. Then you look in the middle, the Florida Bright Future Scholarship Program, another organization that uses the core GPA. I'm going to refer to them specifically later on in the program. And then finally, the NCAA which is the National Collegiate Athletic Association. If you did want to play sports on the college level, you would need to, again, they're going to review your grades and test scores. And like we always say, the better student you are, the more they can help you as far as different options, even playing sports in college. So that's definitely something to be aware of. Our next handout, number 5, shows you actually an example of an official transcript that would be sent to a college when the time comes in the student's senior year. So you can see all the classes are listed there. The final average in the course converted to the letter grade, as you can see, whether it's honors or so forth. Down the bottom, you can see the cumulative GPA, then the class rank, and also service hours. So this is the same document where you're applying to a private school or a public university that will be sent to the school, assuming they use transcripts. Now, there are a lot of schools that are now going to what they call the self-reported academic record, where the student actually inputs their grades when they initially apply, but eventually we're going to be sending them a hard copy or a digital copy, should I say, a final copy that they'll actually use to confirm what the students have added. So it's important to know, like I said, whether you're applying to a school that uses the cum GPA or core GPA or anywhere in between, where you're still sending them the same document so they can verify where that student is. Okay, so we are back to talk about the Florida Bright Future Scholarship Program. As I had mentioned earlier, we're going to go into greater detail on that. I'd ask you to take a look at handout number 8, and we'll talk about the 2 specific award levels for this great scholarship. And this is definitely something that we encourage all of our students to shoot for from the first day forward of freshman year. We always tell them that their grades from their freshman year, let's say English 1, will count just as much as their grades from their senior year, let's say English 4, and all the way through. So it's important to get off to a great start and really set as a goal for yourself to earn this scholarship. As most of you are aware, for the Florida Bright Future Scholarship Program, this is a scholarship for colleges and universities in the state of Florida from our high school graduates. So if you went to a public university in Florida, they would recognize this, as well as a private school. Unfortunately, Bright Futures does not follow you outside of the state. So if you went to a school outside of the state, let's say University of Georgia, you would not receive Bright Future scholarship money. But we always tell the students that if they are good students who qualify for Bright Futures, that may eventually help them qualify for a scholarship, maybe at a different school outside of the state that could help them as well. So taking a look at the 2 different scholarship levels, there's the Academic Scholars Award, which, as you can see, is the 100% tuition scholarship. Again, that would be 100% tuition at a public university. Private schools cost more money, so it wouldn't be 100% of their tuition, but it would be 100%. They would give you the money that 100% of tuition would cost at a public school, and you can apply it to the private school. Same thing for the Medallion Award. It's 75% tuition at a public university, and again, you can use that money at a private school as well. As far as the eligibility, the Academic Scholars Award, they are looking for a 3.5 weighted GPA. And when they say weighted, that means taking into account honors and AP classes. They give you a half point for honors and AP. So 3.5, so mostly A's and some B's throughout high school. The Medallion Scholarship, next to it on the right, looks for a 3.0. So that's basically a B average in those core classes throughout high school. Required credits. Again, you see they're looking at the core classes that we talked about before. So 4 English, 4 math, 3 sciences, 3 social science, and then 2 world language in the same language, plus up to an additional 2 credits. So if you have classes that can help you, for example, if you take 2 more years of foreign language and you have A's in those, they will use that to increase your GPA for the scholarship. And it's the same criteria they look at for both the academic and the Medallion Scholars Award as far as the core classes. For community service, they require 100 hours for the Academic Scholars Award, 75 hours for the Medallion Scholars Award. As you know, we talked about earlier, 25 hours of community service are required each year at Bishop Kenny. So if you're here for 4 years, you'd minimum have 100 hours. So that's no difficulty for our students. And then the test scores, which is something they have changed throughout the years. The current test score qualifications for the class of 2024 for the Academic Scholars Award award is a 1330 SAT, or a 29 ACT. And then those can be what they call super scored. So if you have your highest reading score from your junior year and your highest math score from your senior year, they can put those together. And same thing on the ACT, which actually has 4 different areas. And just so you know, also the ACT rounds up. So if you ended up with a 28.5, it would round up to a 29 for their evaluation. So 1330 or 29 for the Academic Scholars Award. Next to that on the right, you look at the Medallion Scholars Award. They're looking for a 1210 SAT or 25 ACT. So again, that's a current score that they're looking for, which is, again, some very solid test scores, but something that's definitely attainable for our students. And we typically have approximately 50% of our graduates qualify for one or the other scholarships. So again, that's the general information, core GPA, test scores, and community service requirement that you can see there. The Bright Future Scholarship is renewable for 4 years, and you have a 5-year eligibility period. So if you go out of state your first year and would like to come back in to the state of Florida for whatever reason, you can activate it after a year and still be eligible to receive the benefits from that scholarship. Our next slide, we talk about extracurricular activities. And knowing right off the bat, number one, we want you to get involved because we find that our students that are involved in extracurricular activities do much better academically. They're here either before or after school. They obviously get to know a lot of different people. Friendships are developed and that type of thing. And so number one, it's helping them do well in school. Number two, we know that colleges are going to look at your overall application. So they're not going to just look at your grades and test scores when you apply to college. They want to see how you've made Bishop Kenny a better place and how you're going to make their college a better place when they accept you and you enroll. So it's important to get involved in things early on if you can. Handout number 9 has a list of all the different organizations and clubs at Bishop Kenny. As well as obviously we have athletics as well that you can partake in. This colleges would like to see you demonstrate a passion as best as you can and see it through for all 4 years. If you can get into leadership positions as a junior and a senior, we would certainly encourage that, knowing that colleges like to see that as well. So we want you to get involved, and like you said, not only the benefit of meeting friends and really having great experiences, but also we know that colleges like to see that as well. So that's definitely something we strongly encourage throughout your 4 years at Bishop Kenny. Some different things you should be aware of as far as Bishop Kenny working with you through our Office of School Counseling. We are going to meet with all of our students each year throughout their 4 years at Bishop Kenny. We will begin their freshman appointments near the end of the first quarter, followed through into the second quarter to make sure they're feeling comfortable in their classes. We meet with our seniors first to talk about college applications. Obviously, that's a busy time for them. We also make sure that they're comfortable, the freshmen are comfortable getting ready for their next 3 quarters after they're here initially as a first quarter student. We do classroom presentations. We are currently doing those. We go out to each religion course. We provide them with a packet that they have on their iPad. A lot of information that we talked about tonight is similar to what we discussed in the classroom presentation, so we would encourage you to take a look at that with their student as well. We are always available to meet with students beyond their typical 1-year appointment, so we always do that for various different things, whether it be in-school information, out-of-school issues, whatever the case is. We are here to help them throughout their 4 years. We have the annual parent seminars that I talked about earlier. So this is our one for the Success Seminar, and we certainly hope to be back in person for you guys when you're sophomores. Usually we have that in January of the sophomore year. So hopefully we are back in person with our presentations at that point as well. And then the final note is Navient Student, which is a web-based program that our students will participate with throughout their 4 years of high school. They will get logged into that with their counselor when they do their freshman college readiness appointment this year, and they'll get initiated. And then eventually when they are visiting colleges, they want to search about majors, applying to college, requesting transcript, and all those different things. That's something we will use Navient Student very heavily with. So again, we'll get initially involved in that. They can do career interest profilers, find out about different careers and majors and that type of thing, even from their freshman year forward. And as they get into sophomore, junior, senior year, they will use that even more so. Just a note here about our Crusader yearbook. If you are interested in getting that, you can order through the link on the Bishop Kenny website. If you go on to resources, class of 2024, there are numerous deadlines throughout the year, but the regular and cheapest deadline is October 30th. So if you are interested in that, we would encourage you to get in and go ahead and get that ordered before October 30th. If you are active on social media, we have our Bishop Kenny Twitter page for our school counseling office. We would encourage you to follow us on there. We post various things about on-campus activities as well as testing and college information, and that's a great way to stay in touch with us as well. We are very excited, and hopefully things went well with our program tonight. We're very excited to welcome our class of 2024 here to our campus. We hope everyone has a healthy and happy school year. We're excited to see you here at Bishop Kenny, and we're looking forward to a great, like I said, 4 years for the class of 2024. And thank you for joining us today.
Students and parents, my name is Mrs. Mary DeSalvo, and I serve as the Vice Principal of Academics here at Bishop Kenny. I would like to welcome all of you to the Bishop Kenny community. As the parent of 3 Kenny grads, I believe that you have made a very wise investment in the future of your child. Students, life is comprised of a series of journeys. It is important to have a destination in mind as you begin. Your destination is graduation in 2024. And so it is important that we begin with a look at our graduation requirements, which you may find listed in the Parent-Student Handbook and under academics on our website. And so in front of you, you will see the graduation requirements. And we refer to them as earning credits, but students also refer to them as a year. And so if we look down the list, you will see 4 credits or 4 years of religion are required. 4 English, 4 math, 3 social studies, 3 science, 2 world language, 1 health education with fitness, 1 practical or performing art, and 6 electives of your choice. If we continue and look at the additional graduation requirements, 25 hours of community service are required each year by each student. If you had the opportunity to complete hours in the summer of 2020, these should be submitted before Labor Day in X2 Vol. And if you need assistance with this, please speak with your religion teacher. All 25 hours must be submitted by the end of the 3rd quarter, 25 hours each year. And the date this year is March 12th of 2021. That would be the deadline. Students also must have a minimum grade point average of 2.0 to meet graduation requirements. Our freshman college readiness appointments are very important. Actually, we have a college readiness appointment for each student each year, but the freshman year is special. And that is where you will begin with your counselor. And students, we really encourage you to share any goals and dreams that you may have for college and career, if you have some in mind. We've heard a lot of goals and a lot of dreams, so don't be shy, and please bring them forward. At that appointment, you will review the graduation requirements alongside your current progress from the 1st quarter. And then you'll discuss those goals and dreams, and we'll also give you an overview of the college admissions process, scholarships, and the NCAA requirements, which are popular for aspiring college athletes. Continuing with the 4-year educational plan, your counselor will go through it with you. That is handout number 6, which was provided by Mr. Buckley. In that appointment, you will create your plan. You will fill it out with your counselor, and then you will review it every year at your college readiness appointment. And I'm sure that you may make changes along the way, because most students do make some changes when they find out which course of study they would like to take. We also encourage additional core courses into the courses that you will find listed on this 4-year plan. These are the minimum graduation requirements. But if you take additional core courses, the colleges are able to count that into your core GPA, which will increase your chances of gaining admission to that college. And so that's why we will encourage you to do so. Some students have an arts that they would like to pursue for 4 years. We would encourage you to pursue it. It is very important to go with your inclinations and your goals. Course requests for the following school year are done at the end of the 3rd quarter. Student performance is a key factor. That means your performance in your classes and your grades and your GPA will all count to help determine your appropriate placement for your sophomore year. So if you are in a college prep class this year and are hoping to take an honors level next year, set your goals and make it happen. This is the time to do it. We have criteria for all of our honors and AP courses, and you will find those listed in the handbook and also in the course catalog. We also offer summer school opportunities, and some students like to take advantage of these to create an opening in their schedule for another course that they like to take. What do they take in summer school? Social studies, either their world history, their U.S. history, or their U.S. government and economics. And so it's very important to keep that in consideration and talk with your counselor about it, and they will explain exactly how that works. Now I'd like to discuss the standardized testing program at Bishop Kenny, which is outlined on handout number 7. We begin with the PSAT in grades 9 and 10. Students take this as a practice for the PSAT and MSQT in the junior year, and as a practice for the SAT exam. AP exams are also required for all of our AP students. It is not an option, and the school does pay for that exam, which could give them potential college credit. SAT and ACT are our college admissions exams. Those must be taken, and we encourage juniors to have taken 2 SATs and 2 ACTs by the end of their junior year, so that they may have a qualifying score when they apply for college in the fall and receive earlier college admission. CLEP tests are also available to assist with exempting out of courses in college if a student has a qualifying grade. Now I'd like to discuss preparing for college entrance exams. Oftentimes we receive phone calls from parents wanting to know the very best way for their student to prepare for their college entrance exams. We give them the advice that comes straight from our college admissions directors. Take rigorous college prep courses. That's what we do at Bishop Kenny. Read and write as much as possible. Become familiar with test questions. Become familiar with test instructions. Take preliminary tests like the PSAT and review the results of those practice tests and practice on Khan Academy. Khan Academy is introduced at Bishop Kenny for 9th and 10th grade students to begin their PSAT practice. There is actually a grade component in the English and math courses, and so this is part of the average in English and math. We are hoping to help students improve their academic skills with these very helpful videos. Also, it helps them improve their problem-solving skills. And they learn to build confidence with standardized testing by becoming familiar with these tests. The best part is that it's linked to the PSAT scores to provide customized practice. And so when the student receives their PSAT results, there will be a link to a personalized study plan. And now I'd like to say a word about the ACT and SAT registrations. Bishop Kenny is a testing center for 3 SATs and 3 ACTs this school year. It is important to a student to test in a familiar environment. It is also important that some of their own classroom teachers will be the proctors, and so we consider this a great advantage. As I said, students should take 2 SATs and 2 ACTs by the end of the junior year. So I encourage families to look ahead at your calendar and schedule the test dates. It is very important this year when seating will be limited due to the COVID-19 virus, and so we will encourage students to schedule your appointments now. Schedule your test dates now. Students will have to go online, create an account, password, and follow up with the registration form. Most colleges will take either the SAT or the ACT, or they will sometimes combine scores from the various sittings that the students have taken. And so that's also important to keep in mind. Registration is all online, and information is always available in the school counseling office. Students, if you ever have questions about this, please be sure to stop by the school counseling office and speak with your counselor or Mrs. Nakashi, who will assist you.
Hello, parents and students. My name is Michael Broach, and I'm the Academic Dean here at Bishop Kenny High School. I've been blessed to be on the faculty for the last 17 years, spending most of my time as a history teacher, the last 5 as Academic Dean, and I still teach currently in our AP Capstone program. I'm also a graduate of the class of 1999, so students, I remember vividly what it was like to be in your shoes as a new student in high school. And I can tell you that Bishop Kenny were some of the best years of my life. I had a great 4-year high school experience. And so my wish for each of you is that you also have a wonderful high school experience here at Bishop Kenny. So from the first day of school until your graduation in May of 2024, everything counts and every day matters. You've spent either the last 9 years at a Catholic grade school or maybe the last 3 years at a middle school, all with the goal of reaching high school. Well, congratulations, now you've made it. When you were in grade school or middle school, you were on one train or one school with one set of expectations. Now you've boarded a new train. Now you're on the high school train. And in a different school, we have a different set of expectations, different approaches to learning, and different challenges at times. What's the destination? Where are we headed? Well, college and preparing you well for life. And that's our motto, is preparing minds, hearts, and souls for college and life. The BK experience is designed to educate the whole person and really to form the whole person. You've heard from Mr. Buckley about the path to college and the importance of grades, but let me emphasize this. While grades and GPA are important, of course I'm the academic dean, so I have to say that, right? But you are not defined by a grade. GPA, test scores, all are very important to the college admissions process and to your future academic success. But your character, your spiritual development, your well-being, all of those are even more important. So just remember, you're not defined by a grade. And also, when it comes to grades, there's always opportunities to find success. Even if something doesn't go right the first time, there's always opportunities to improve and to grow. So always keep that balance in mind. Our philosophy as a school is to prepare students with the knowledge, the skills, and the work ethic to be successful in the future, both in college and real life. And as I said, Grades and test scores will help to identify which college is a best fit for you. But at the end of the day, once high school is done, what you carry with you are the knowledge and skills you have developed here: perseverance, self-motivation, the ability to overcome challenges, good character. And those are really the things that we're invested in today, helping you to grow as an independent, responsible adult ready for the road ahead. So let me say a few words about placement. Placement is only a starting point. I placed each of you in your English, math, and science courses based on high school placement test scores, other standardized test scores such as the Terra Nova, your grades from 8th grade, as well as 8th grade teacher recommendations. We have this placement system because we know the rigor and expectations of our curriculum here, and we want to make sure that you start where you are best able to find success. But remember, placement is only a starting point. You determine where you go from here. A student, for example, in a college prep level course who earns a 95 and a 3.5 GPA can move up to honors automatically the next year. A student who's placed currently in honors must maintain an 85 year-to-date average and a certain GPA to remain in honors in subsequent years. If you're not quite at that criteria at the time that we do the course request process, you may ask for a waiver conference, and that's where we will have a conversation about the courses that you're desiring to take, your current grades, and your goals to see whether that would be a good placement going forward. So let me assure you that there's no tracks at Bishop Kenny. Again, placement is only a starting point. You choose where you go from here. As for what you're learning in your classes, it's important to understand that information alone is not knowledge. My background is a history teacher, and often students in my history class thought that if they just memorized names, dates, and facts, that's all they needed to get an A. The reality is, at this level, students need to understand the connection between those events and why they matter. It's the same in many other disciplines. As a college prep school, we ask you to learn how to think critically, and we're teaching you how to think critically, analytically, to think deeper about the content that you're learning. And our expectations here are higher. We believe in an appropriate rigor, again, to help you develop the skills necessary for success at a higher level once you leave Bishop Kenny. That's college and then in the future. So I advise you to take a look at what you're learning in your classes in a wider context and how this is relevant to your daily lives and your future vocation. And let me say a few words about math. Math can be one of those most challenging disciplines in high school. For some of you, it may be come very naturally to you. It may be a very easy discipline. And for others, myself included, it may take a different type of work ethic or a different type of approach. We all learn things differently. At Bishop Kenny, we hold higher standards for math because we know our math coursework prepares students well to succeed on the SAT and ACT math sections, as well as for the math coursework that you may take in college. Math takes consistent practice. For example, if you were in music, they say that practice makes perfect or perfect practice makes perfect. Think of math and even science the same way. The more you practice, the more comfortable you become. And so with that, we do offer math labs on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays in the Dimitri Learning Commons. We also offer a BK Writing Lab, now online on our website with resources, but also in person on Tuesdays, also in the Dimitri Learning Commons. So I encourage you to take advantage of these on-campus opportunities. So let's discuss grades. By now, you have already received some information from Mrs. Olento about accessing the FACS grade portal, which is now open. Parents, this is your window to check your child's progress. And students, this is a tool for you to monitor your own progress each quarter. We no longer mail home report cards at the end of until the end of the school year, so you'll want to make sure that you save your login information for FACS. As for checking grades, students, we encourage you to log in to check your grades about once a week. And notice I said once a week. I know some students who log in multiple times a day. I would really caution you with that. Remember, we said you're not defined by a grade. So check once a week to monitor your progress, but don't let it overwhelm you to where you're obsessively checking too often, right? Remember, focus on what you're learning. Also remember that it takes time for the gradebook to reflect your actual overall progress. For example, the grade portal opened this week. There's probably only a few grades in there because things are so new. Teachers are just now rolling out new content. After about 2 to 3 weeks after the start of a quarter is when you can really start to see grading categories be filled, and then that quarter grade then becomes a reflection of your overall progress. So again, grades are important, but we want you to look at your grades as a measurement of where you are and where you need to improve. And I'll return to that topic in just a little bit. Parents, for you, we recommend that you check grades maybe 2 to 3 times a quarter. Of course, if you feel that you need to monitor more closely, you can do that. But I also encourage you, when you do monitor grades, to do so to check for accountability and work ethic. Our policy here at Bishop Kenny is that teachers update gradebooks weekly. So again, 2 to 3 times a quarter is a good rhythm to get into. As for communication, one of the great luxuries that we have in this school is that we have wonderful and caring parents who are connected and involved. In our mission statement, we say that we will partner with you in the education of your child. So parents, please feel free to reach out to your child's teachers or your child's counselor if there's a question or a concern that arises, because we're all here as a team to partner with you. However, I will tell you that one of the biggest differences in high school versus grade school is that we try to have the students work out any concerns or issues themselves with their teachers or with their counselors first before involving mom or dad. High school is a great opportunity for young people to learn communication skills, resiliency, and how to overcome obstacles. This is why our first line of communication is always between the teacher and the student. So students, now that you're in high school, you are responsible for your education. That means that mom and dad are not responsible for your homework or reminding you when tests and quizzes are coming up. All of that now falls to you as we prepare you for college and life. Parents, of course, as you listen to your children, if you have questions or if your child has concerns, always encourage your student to reach out to the teacher or the school counselor first. And then if those continue, then you can reach out to the teacher or the counselor. Next, I'd like to talk about some common elements of success at Bishop Kenny. And I'd ask that you refer to the handout that came from Mr. Buckley that says the most successful Bishop Kenny freshmen. This is a document that we collected from freshman teachers and from past freshman students. The first, obviously, is prayer. I highly encourage you students, take a few minutes every day to give thanks to God for all of the blessings in your life, the blessing of the opportunity to attend this school, and all of the many gifts that God has bestowed on you. Remember that we offer daily Mass each morning in our chapel at 7:10 a.m. We also have Adoration of the Blessed Sacrament available during lunches on the first Fridays of every month. One of my favorite phrases, of course, is God never gives you more than you can handle. So prayer is a good daily habit to start your day. And speaking of good habits, it is so important to form good habits to be successful in high school. One really important habit is to plan ahead. So I highly encourage each of you to have a planner. Some students use the My Homework app on the iPad, and that's fine, but there's also nothing wrong with a paper planner. Remember, you have 7 classes and 7 different teachers on a rotating schedule, so effective planning is essential for success. Also in grade school, Mom and Dad may have received weekly updates from the teacher or had a way to log in to see upcoming test dates and quiz dates. That doesn't exist in high school. In high school, you students, you have Schoology. Schoology is a great resource for you. Teachers use Schoology to share materials, to post major due dates. But Schoology is only a resource. It doesn't replace what is said in class. For some teachers who have daily homework, the assignments might not be right there in Schoology. They might be on a board in the classroom. But remember, a natural act of teaching is to give reminders at the beginning and end of every class of what's coming up and what's important. Therefore, students, I highly recommend that you have your planner out at the beginning and end of every class so that you can catch those important reminders and write them down. Another good habit is to develop a good study routine. So think about where it is that you complete your homework and what time you set aside to do homework and to study. Preparation is an essential skill for success, and that includes not just completing homework, but reading ahead for class, preparing studying materials, studying vocabulary over several days instead of just the night before a test. One of the common reflections that we hear from ninth grade students is that they have to work much harder or they have to be much more diligent in their studies in order to achieve success here at Bishop Kenny than in their previous school. That's where more proactive preparation on your part will help you to find success here. Another important skill, the third trait, is the ability to self-advocate. As I mentioned before, the first line of communication is always between the student and the teacher. If you find a class to be challenging, go see the teacher. Make an appointment or send the teacher an email or Schoology message asking for a time to meet. Don't ever be afraid to speak with your teachers. We are all here to help you. Even the teachers who may seem tough or strict, trust me, once you sit down one-on-one, you'll find that they really want what's best for you. Also remember that our teachers have many students, so if you take the time to see your teacher before or after school, that goes a long way in developing a good rapport with the teacher. I can tell you from my own experience that we're not mind readers. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or you just don't quite understand a concept, please ask, because as the teacher in the front of the room, if I'm looking at my classroom of students, I might not know that you have a question or you might be feeling overwhelmed. So please don't wait until right before the test or when things get too overwhelming. Be proactive and reach out to your teachers. Let me also say a word about tutors. There are some great tutors in the Jacksonville area, and our counseling office has the names and numbers of tutors who have worked well with our students. But parents, before you invest in an outside tutor, please make sure that you've exhausted all of the opportunities that are available here on campus for students. I mentioned the math and writing labs. That's a free service for all of our students that's held right here on the Bishop Kenny campus. Of course, if you do feel that it is necessary to hire an outside tutor, I highly recommend that you put the tutor and the teacher in direct communication. There is a special release form that you would get from the Office of School Counseling, but again, having the tutor and the teacher in direct communication is so very helpful. And last, I'd like to discuss the concept of mindset. We want all of our students to develop a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. Students, this stage of your life is sometimes referred to as a new infancy. Every experience that you have forms new pathways as your brain continues this very rapid phase of development. So just like when you were younger and your brain was rapidly developing, you're in another phase of rapid development. Brain science refers to this as neuroplasticity. Over the course of 4 years at Bishop Kenny, you will take 28 classes. In one of those classes, you might think, there's no way I can do this. I've had students come to see me who say, I can't handle this class or I can't do this project. And I often encourage them to change that statement to say, I can't do this yet. Remember, you might not be able to accomplish a task or understand a concept right now, but if you work hard at it, you can make it over that hurdle. I've sometimes heard that with math, that students say, oh, I've always been bad at math. No one is bad at math. Everyone just understands math differently, and sometimes you have to take a different approach. Again, I was one of those students. So I encourage you to adopt that yet mentality, that if you feel that you just can't do something, just say, you know what, I may not be able to do it now, I may not be able to do it yet, but I will be able to do it in the future, because a challenge helps you grow. And with that, I'd like to say again, welcome to Bishop Kenny. We are so delighted to have all of you in the Crusader family. And if we can be of any assistance to you, reach out to the academic office, to the Office of School Counseling, to your teachers. All of us are here to help you.